what I'll do, Rose, I'm going to say a few words and then
Absolutely.
I'll
Say,
introduce you.
okay, thank you.
And then I see a computer there. Are there slides that scroll through, or?
I have no idea. Ask Ben.
So I see the computer there. Are there slides that go through? Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I do have a slideshow that we prepared after we published the book that follows along with your story. So there's 4 or 5 pre-war, it's not many, 4 or 5 pre-war pictures, and then after the war, there's a great picture with my dad and all the top hats.
So what year does this go back?
The book starts in, she's born in 29. The story here starts in 38 when she and both my dad were born in 29. They're both 8 years old. Because that's even when Hitler starts posing things that an 8-year-old would feel. And then, and then it goes all the way through till 1972 when she first speaks in Lewis Junior High back then and realizes that hiding it is not the mission. The mission.
Good morning.
45 to 72, they hid it.
Yeah. We're going to wait another couple minutes.
Okay, I have all the time.
Okay.
You are so quiet. Rose Schindler.
Mom, talk in the microphone.
I am Rose Schindler. I'm not going to ask your name because I will never remember it.
Linda, will you get me a chair too? Over there, guys.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
There's plenty of seats down here. There's plenty of seats over here. Come over here. Down here.
Can I come too?
Would you rather hold the mic? Might be easier, huh?
It depends.
Let's try.
Yeah, okay. All right.
It might be better, huh? Just hold it right under your mouth.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
My name's Ada. Can I shake your hand?
Absolutely.
It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I'll hand you the microphone when I'm done.
Yeah.
And you're just going to hold it?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do a couple of things before we start today. If you could do me a favor, take out your cell phones and make sure they're either powered off or turned off so they don't ring. And then once you're done with that, if you could put it in your backpack or somewhere else. We don't get this opportunity very often, and I don't want kids with their cell phones out or adults with their cell phones out. So once it's powered down or the volume off, just put it away, please. So for those of you that are new to the school, freshmen or new students, I'm Mr. Schwoko, the principal. I want to welcome you here today. A very special day that we have, and this kind of opportunity does not come around very often. So please, let's give Rose Schindler all your attention, and it's going to be a great day. And she waving to you now, you're waving back. Yeah, that's great. So we have a live streaming going. I don't know if it started yet, but every classroom on campus has access to this, and they're watching it as well. And then we sent a message home to your parents yesterday with the link, so hopefully they're watching. But what is going to be shared with you today is very important, and you guys many of you are from a history class right now, and you read things in your history class, or your teacher talks about it, but you don't experience the way that it's going to be shared with you today. So you're very, very fortunate. And please pay attention and appreciate the time that you have here. So I would like to introduce our guest speaker, Rose Schindler.
Good morning, everybody. I just want to tell you that when we first came to San Diego, we started in Santee. Okay, that's many, many years ago, in the 50s. There wasn't much there in those days. Anyway, thank you very much for inviting me to speak about my past. And while I'm speaking, I can also, if anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them, okay? So my name is Rose Schindler. I am 92 years old. I was taken to Auschwitz when I was in third grade. I tell you guys, I'm 92 and my memory doesn't work so good anymore.
Start at the beginning, Mom. Start at the very beginning.
Okay.
1938.
Okay. So I was born in 1928, actually, okay? And the war started in 1938. I come from a family of 8 children, 6 girls and 2 boys. And we lived in a village. I don't know if anybody ever lives in a village that doesn't have any electricity, does not have any water, does not have anything at all. If whatever you have is in your house, and it's a different life. But this is how we lived. There was nothing else. I don't think even in the United States you had more than what we had. But anyway, we were 10 people. We lived in 3 rooms: 1 kitchen, 1 living room, and 1 bedroom. In the living room, 6 kids lived. My parents lived in another bedroom, okay? Anyway, and we had a great life. I was born in Czechoslovakia, by the way, okay? Czechoslovakia was a wonderful country. I'm Jewish, by the way, and most of the Jewish people in our village, we had about, I would say we had maybe 1,200 people or 1,400 people, I'm really not sure. But we knew everybody in town. We had no electricity, we had no telephones, we didn't, I can't even tell you how much we didn't have, okay? We had whatever we needed to cook the foods, and the people working. Everything was great before the war. But in 1938, the war started, and all the Jewish, and most of the people in our village were business people. But in 1938, everything changed. All the Jewish businesses were taken away. All the men were sent to factories to work. They would pick them up Sunday morning, men over 15 years old, Sunday morning, and would bring them back on Friday night. But the mothers and the children stayed home. So anyway, so we were living there, and every few days, different rules changed. Before we were leaders of the towns. Now we were the opposite to leaders, okay? We had no rights for anything. But thank God we all lived on farms, so we didn't have to worry about not getting food, because we grew everything we ate. If we didn't grow it, we didn't eat it, okay? Anyway, so this started in 1938, and little by little things are changing, and this is going on. I didn't even ask how much time I have.
You have enough time, Mom.
Anyway, all the men, 15 and older, were taken to factories to work, and the mothers and children stayed home and continuing life. We never thought we would have such a hard time. But you know, we were not taken before 1944. May 1944. In 3-4 months, that part of the world was almost liberated. But Hitler promised not to take us Jews from that area. At the last minute, he changed his mind. And we were 600 Jews in the village, okay? So anyway, so the 1944, right after Passover. You know what Passover? Any Jewish kids here? Okay. Passover or Easter. You know, when we have Passover, you have Easter, okay? When we have Hanukkah, you have Christmas. You see, you copied everything what we had. I guess the first person that was in the world was Jewish, okay? Anyway, so things are, little by little, things are getting better, worse, not better, worse. Everything that we had, did not have all the rights that we had before. They were beginning to take all the rights away from us. And really, the Jewish people were running the towns in those days, okay? So it says we were 8 children and my parents, and we lived in a 3-room house, no bathrooms, no water in the house. We had a pump, okay, or a well. You know what a well is? Yeah, okay. We had a well and a pump. Anyway, so this, and every few days more rules are coming to the Jewish people, okay? When we were running it, now we have no choice to even answer any of those questions to the people. So all the men were taken to factories. They would pick them up Sunday morning, over 15 years old, and bring them back Friday night. At least they brought them back for the weekend, for Shabbat, Sabbath, you know, which is our biggest day in the week. Anyway, so things are changing so badly, you have no idea, okay? So after this started, they decided that they're taking all the Jewish people to the next town, which is 20 kilometers. I don't know how many miles that is. So they took all the Jewish people, and we had no rights to do anything, just one bag per person. So they took us to the next city, which was 20 kilometers away, and they put us in trucks. We didn't even have, in that time, we used to have a train station come to our village, which was called Serenya, but during the war, it was completely destroyed, so we were in some small trucks or wagons, I don't even remember. They must have put maybe 30 people in every wagon, and they took us to Ushhorod, which is a big city. Maybe they had 50,000 people there, and we were all allowed one bag. So anyway, so we got there, and what they did was they had at the train station, they had a big lot, very big lot over there, and they brought all the people from the villages to that lot, okay? And we were surrounded by we were surrounded by police, because some of the people might have wanted to run away, but they couldn't run away because the whole area was surrounded by people who are making sure that nobody runs away, okay? Yeah.
Can you tell them about what your father asked you to do before you left home?
Before we left, okay, by the way, before we left home, my father put a few pieces of jewelry together in a little shoe polish box, and he said to me, I had 2 older sisters and an older brother, and 3 younger sisters and a younger man. My father said to us, to the older kids, I want to hide. We didn't have much jewelry in those days, by the way. My father had a pocket watch and a ring. I don't know what else he had. I don't think he had anything else. And my mother had a few pieces, but they put it in a shoe polish box, and they said to my 2 older sisters and me, come with me. I want to show you where I'm going to hide it. And when you come back after the war, you know where it is. You see, my father already knew a lot of what's going on, but us kids didn't know. So he put a few pieces of jewelry in a shoe polish box and hid it between the ceiling and the wall. And when we came home after the war, three of us, my two sisters and I, so my father said to my two older sisters to me, come, I want you to know where it is. So my two older sisters said, they don't care. But I said to my father, I do. Because I always was a person that did things that other kids didn't do, okay? And I would get spanked quite a bit too, okay? But I was a very lively kid, okay? So I went with my father and we hid the jewelry between the ceiling and the wall. He opened it up. He put the jewelry in a shoe polish box, okay? And so I went with my father and we hid it. And when we came home after the war, my two sisters and I, right away, I said, let's go get the jewelry. I am wearing my father's pocket watch chain on my neck, if you can see it. This is on my neck 24 hours a day. Okay, so the little shoe polish box, a few pieces of jewelry, we hid it. And I said, when we came back from the war, we went and got the jewelry and we divided between the three, my two sisters and me. There wasn't much in there. Maybe my pair of earrings from my mother and a couple of chains, and then maybe she had a watch. I don't even think that women in those days had watches, okay? Anyway, so they're taking us to this big city, and all the Jews, all the people from all the villages are brought over there, and little by little, because that's at the train station there, they were sending people away. Most of them, 90%, I would say, went to Auschwitz, okay? I don't know if anybody has seen any of the movies about Auschwitz, but this was not a living place. It was hell, okay? Absolute hell. They had barracks, 2,000 women in 1,000 women in every barrack, 3 rows of bunks, no blankets, no nothing. Thank God they didn't take us wintertime. They took us in April and May. If they would have taken us in the winter, we would have frozen. Because in that country, we have, at least for 4 or 5 months, snow all the time, okay? And if you don't have heat or anything, you probably could die. Anyway, so here we are. So they brought all the people from all the villages to this place at the train station. And the reason they brought us to the train station so that we should be ready to be shipped away at the train station, okay? So we were in Usharat. It was a big city. I would say maybe a couple of weeks, okay? It was a big place. We had surrounding people, making sure nobody runs away, okay? We had no fences, but they had men watching all the time, the place. So after we were there maybe a couple of weeks, we went and they selected us to go to a factory to work.
No, you went to Auschwitz.
No, excuse me, they selected us to go, they took us to Auschwitz. I don't know, has anybody been to Auschwitz? One person. Of course, what it is now is nothing. They took all the barracks away and everything else. We were there in 95. So in that time, they only had like 3 barracks. Each barrack held 1,000 women, 3 rows of bunks. So in the morning, they would give us coffee for breakfast. A pot of coffee, maybe, that would be good for...
Mom, can you start in the train car when you get to Auschwitz and tell that story? You're in the train car, you just get to Auschwitz. What happens? Who comes on the train and tells you what?
Oh, yeah. You know that all the work was done by our own people. Everything in those camps are done by our own people, especially in Auschwitz. I don't know about other camps. So they came. So when the train came in, they asked us, "How old are you?" I said, "I am 14." Tell them you're 18. I had no idea what he was talking about. Okay, all the work was done by our own people. If they wouldn't do it, they would shoot you. They would kill you. They had no choice. They would see their own families going into the gas chambers. Do you know that? No choice. So anyway, so this man comes on the train to help us our luggage, okay? This young man. He must have been maybe 18 or 19. And he says to me, "How old are you?" I said, "I am 14. He says, "Tell him you're 18. If he wouldn't have come to me to ask me that question, nobody would be here. We wouldn't be here. I would have gone with my mother straight and my 4 sisters and brothers straight into the gas chambers." So anyway, so when we came to Auschwitz, we go out and they're separating the men, the women, and the mothers of children, okay? They needed slave labor, and that's why they saved us, okay? So we are in front of we get off the train, and there's 3 SS soldiers asking questions. So my father and my brother was older than me. My father and my brother is told to go to this line. My mother and 3 sisters and brothers to another line, and to my 2 sisters in this line. And then he said to me, "How old are you?" I said, "I am 18," because the man on the train told me to tell him I'm 18, okay? And my sisters didn't know that I was told to lie about my age. So my sister Helen says, "She's only 14. I said, "Oh no, I'm 18. What made me say it? Who knows? But that's what it was. He let me go with my 2 older sisters. I never saw my mother and 3 sisters and brothers again. Okay? So here we are, 3 of us, and they're sending us to this big building, and then they told us to take all our clothes up, and they shaved all our hair everywhere, not only the head, everywhere. It's in Auschwitz, okay? Nobody can imagine what they did. And the whole world was silent while this was going on. Anyway, so here we are, and finally they told us to pick up a dress. They had a bunch of clothes on the side, all the clothes that we brought. You know, when you travel, you're going to travel with your best clothes. You're not going to travel with your rags. All we had was rags to pick up a dress, no underwear, just a dress, no shoes, clogs, no idea how they treated us, okay? Anyway, so I picked up a dress and went to the floor, okay? But no underwear, nothing. And my 2 sisters also. And finally, we go there, and of course, they shave our hair everywhere. And then finally, they march us into Auschwitz, to the camp. Auschwitz-Birkenau, I don't know, I think somebody was there before. Of course, you don't see anything see now. Before they had, I think, 30 barracks. Every barrack held 1,000 women, 3 rows of bunks, okay? So we ended up in barrack 26, and we ended up on the 3rd row of bed, 5 or 8 people in each one. And then we get up and go to bed, and then we get up in the morning, and they give us coffee for breakfast. They don't give, there's a pot for 10, 15 people. A sip of coffee. Tastes like horrible stuff, okay? I took 1 sip, and I never tried the coffee again. That was our breakfast. So I'm going, and so my 2 sisters and I, they said, what do we do here? Maybe we should go outside. So my sister said, they don't want to go outside. I'm going out. I was always very advanced in things like that. Even when I was home, a young girl, I did things I shouldn't do, and I get spanked quite a bit because I did this. But anyway, so I go outside, and I see all these women, and I have 10 or 12-foot electric fences. And nobody actually knew it was electric, okay? And the people that didn't know, they would touch the fence. 20 seconds later, you're dead. Blood comes out of the nose and you're gone. So I'm walking, and I see all this horrible, horrible situation. I said, my God, where was God? And why did he let this happen? And after a couple of minutes, somebody calls my name. My father. My father and my brother, they were selected to go to a factory to work the day before, okay? And they were staying there, they're temporarily there, okay, for a couple of days, okay? They used 2 barracks, maybe, I think there's usually 30 or 40 people, I don't know how many. But anyway, so my father is walking in Auschwitz, and he's calling my name, okay? Rosie, that was my Jewish name. And my father, you saw pictures probably of my father, I presume, okay? He was always well-dressed with a hat and a suit, and my father had a tailor shop. And he made the best tailors in the area. They used to say, when Mr. Schwartz makes a suit, it looks like it was poured on you. That's how well it fitted, okay? He was very popular. Anyway, so there's my father and a man approaching me and not my 2 sisters. I was alone walking. My father he had a beard, a short beard, as you saw, and there he was all shaved, everything, and in a striped uniform. And he says, Rosie, Rosie, don't you recognize me? I said, my God, my father, what did they do to you? Anyway, he says, I'm here with your brother. We were already selected to go to a factory to work. He says, whatever you do, stay alive so you can tell the world what they're doing to us. And then we made up to me, and we hugged and we kissed. And there was just 2 barracks that had the men. The rest were all women. So we made up to meet the next morning again. And my father said, I'm going to bring your brother, and you bring your 2 sisters, okay? So we met the next morning, and he repeated the same thing. Whatever you do, stay alive so you can tell the world what they're doing to us.
Also stay together, right?
Yes, and always stay together. 3 of my 2 older sisters and me. So we said goodbye the second time, and then we made up to meet the next morning, but they were gone. They were there temporarily because this was an all-women's Auschwitz-Birkenau camp. So here we are in Auschwitz, and then lunchtime, they give us a slice of bread with a piece of margarine, okay? And dinner time, a pot of soup, and you share it with 10 people, excuse me. A pot of soup for 10 people or whatever. It's not edible. That soup was not edible. Anyway, nobody can imagine how horrible it was. Anyway, so here we are. And then little by little, they're always sending people to factories to work. So we were there maybe 5, 6 days, and we did not go. And each barrack had 1,000 women. So when they came to the barrack and they said they need 300 women, my 2 sisters and I stayed back for a few days. But then we decided it's time to get out. This is not a place to live. So we went out, and they selected my 2 sisters to a factory to work, and they put me in a different line. But you see, when you're in a place like this, they tell you, give you advice. The people in the barrack, they said, if they don't keep you together, remember, run out of the line, make sure nobody sees you. So, and that's what they did. We lined up, and they put me into the gas chamber line, and I ran out and made sure nobody sees me. But my 2 sisters also went out of the line because they wouldn't go without me, because they needed 300, 500 women. It's always 5 in a row, and if you leave the line, nobody knows where, because there's so many people there, nobody knows what's going on. Anyway, so after 2 selections, my 2 people over there in the barrack, 1,000 women, they told me, don't go to get selected to work because they're not going to take you to work. So we decided not to do that, okay? Because you're not forced, because there's so many hundreds of people in each barrack. So finally, here we are. So as I said, first for dinner, there's a pot of soup for 10, 15 people. It was not edible. It was horrible, absolutely horrible. Anyway, so here we are, and we're hoping that the war would end, because it was 1944. And by the summer of 1944, a lot of areas was already liberated. And this was like about May of 1944. So anyway, so we're hoping that we are going to be liberated. And you always have to hope for good things. If you have no hope, you're lost, okay? Remember, if you have a bad day, remember tomorrow is going to be better, okay? Anyway, so here we are. We're not going to be selected to work because they're never going to take me to work. I was thin when I was I was always skinny when I was a young girl. So, and in Auschwitz, I was skin and bone, okay? Anyway, so after being 2 months in Auschwitz, I could hardly even walk anymore, okay? It was so bad. We found out that we had 2 cousins in barrack. There were 30 barracks, by the way. One barrack was a kitchen, one barrack was a bathroom, and the other barracks all had 1,000 women. So we found out that we had cousins in barrack number 3 who were in charge of giving out the food. There's nothing better than that. So my 2 sisters and I, we went to barrack number 3, and my cousin, they were so happy to see us. So they accepted us into the barrack. And after being there a couple of weeks, we probably gained 5 pounds because they gave us extra food, okay? And then my cousins were picked up, and with the 200 or 300 other women, they came to select people to go to factories to work all the time. So my cousin said, they have to leave, they cannot do it anymore. And they were in charge of the food, so now somebody else is in charge of the food. And if you don't know them, they're not going to give you any extra food, okay? So anyway, so this is going on. And then a couple of weeks later, they came to our barrack again, and they said, we need 300 women to go to Freudenthal in Germany to a factory to work. So I told my sisters, go get selected. I'm going to steal myself into the transport. And good enough, I did that. You know, sometimes you have to have a lot of brains to do that. So I said, instead of 5 in a row, make sure there's 4 in a row next to you. And I will sneak in, make sure nobody sees me. And this is how I survived, okay? So they sent us to Germany, Freudenthal, okay? And they treated us like human beings. Breakfast and lunch and dinner, and we worked. I worked on masks, would you believe it? I had about 10, 12 hours. I would have to put on a mask put it on and put it down for 10, 12 hours, okay? And so this is going on, and we are in Freudenthal, and finally by 1945, and beginning of May, we always had to be ready to get up in the morning, have breakfast, and then be ready to go to the factory to work. And then they didn't come to pick us up to go to the factory to work. And this was May 6th or 7th, 1945, okay? So I said to my sisters, something is going on, and we hear planes going all over our buildings. But before, years ago, when we were there, the building was always locked. But I said to my sister, I'm going to go see if the door is locked. Maybe it's not locked, and maybe we could get out because we can hear planes over us and all kinds of stuff. And I go, and the door is wide open. It's not locked at all. And so I go out, and of course we had electric fences surrounding our camp, and the gate was open too. This was May 1947, whatever. I tell you, I'm 92 years old, and my memory is kind of not so good. So I hear the planes over us, and I hear the Russian language. They were coming behind the building that we lived in. They had all kinds of, they were growing corn behind our building. You know, corn is very high. So the Russian soldiers were coming through the cornfields to liberate us. So and in those days, I knew a little Russian, not much, but I knew enough Russian to say hello to them and be happy that they're liberating us. So when I got there, they hugged me, and I told them we are 300 women here in the camp. So they came and liberated us. They were very good for us, okay? So here we are, liberated, and we're so happy that all this happened. This was probably May 7th, 1945. So after being there for a few days, maybe a week or so, we decided, well, it's time to leave. Of course, while we were in the camp, while we were in the building, we did not get food, because before they used to serve us breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but now we are all alone. Nobody's helping us. So we would go to town and go to the people in town, and they would give us food, whatever we needed. They were very helpful. And that was in Germany, okay? But they had no choice. They knew if they wouldn't help us, we would help ourselves, because we had the right, because the Russian soldiers would come with us to the homes, okay? So anyway, so here we are in this place, and we were maybe there a couple of weeks, and they said, well, it's time to leave, okay? We probably all put some weight on. And this was 1945. Probably, I don't exactly remember dates, because we never knew what dates were. We had no information. Anyway, so finally we decided to leave. So we went on the train station. We knew that there is a train station, so we all decided to go and leave. So, of course, we had to wait 3 days before we could get on the train. And when we got on the train, we were on top of the train. They allowed us to, because there was too many people trying to get away from there. So, so finally we got away, and it took us about 3-4 weeks to get home, because we lived in Ukraine. Okay, you know what Ukraine is, right? I was born in Ukraine. So it took us about 3 weeks or so to get home. We had to change trains all the time, and the whole world was very nice to us. I wish they would have done this before when we needed them, but nobody tried to help us during the war. Nobody said, hey, leave a kid here. Maybe when you come back, you're going to have your kid. And actually, one family in my village said to my father, I can take one child of yours before you leave, okay? And my father said, how am I going to choose a child? Which child? Anybody under 12 years old or 13. But my father said, no, we are going to stick together. You're not going to leave one child. Unfortunately, it was not a good idea, okay? So anyway, so here we are. We're getting home, and the neighbors are very nice to us. Of course, all our homes are occupied. All the non-Jewish people are gone, so all the people took the homes. But some people said, here, you're back, you can have your house. My house, the house that we had was no good. It was all ruined. They killed the whole house. I mean, they ruined the house. So of course, other kids were coming home, so we would stay with another families of other kids, okay? No parents came home. All the mothers and fathers and grandparents they were all killed, okay? The only people they saved are the ones that could go to factories to work. Anyway, so here we are, and after a couple of weeks, we left. I left, my sister Helen, and while we were at train stations, my sister Helen met a Jewish soldier, Czech soldier, and they fell in love at the train, because we stayed at the train station sometime 2-3 days, because the trains were not running like today, remember that. So before we separated, the soldier left, he gave his key to my sister Helen in Prague. He says, I live in Prague, a house. This is the key to the house. You go home, see who survived the war, and then you come to Prague and you live in Prague with me, in my house, okay? He was a very nice Jewish soldier. I think all the girls fell in love with him, but my sister had the choice, okay? So anyway, so we are home, and then my sister is leaving. After 10 days, we found out what happened to my father and my brother. We knew my mother and 4 sisters and brothers they took them straight into the gas chambers when we got there. All the mothers with children, okay? The only people they saved are the ones that could go to work, okay? So anyway, so here we are, and finally, there may be 15 or 17 people came back after the war. Maybe we had 600 people in our village, okay? That's all that came back. So finally, my sister Helen left. She says, because we found out that my father was, a young man came back after the war, and he was with my brother in a camp, and he told me what happened to my brother. He did something that he shouldn't do, and they killed him. And then somebody came back also that was with my father in a camp. And they said, your father got sick, and they took him away, and that's it. Never saw him again. They didn't save anybody of the sick people. They just killed them, okay? Nobody can imagine what they did to us. Anyway, so here we are. So we are in my hometown, and then my sister Helen leaves. She goes to Prague because she has a key to a house in Prague, a nice Jewish man. And a week or 10 days later, I said to Judy, I think we should leave, because we were hoping some other people were coming back of the war. We had 600 people in town, and I think maybe 18 or 20 people came back after the war. Nobody's coming back anymore. So finally, we left to Prague, and then after we were in Prague, we found out that there is a Jewish organization looking for, 300 people or whatever to go to.
1,000.
Huh?
1,000. 1,000.
Okay, all right. I tell you, my memory, being 92, you don't remember everything.
Yes.
Anyway, so we found out that they're going to send us to a hostel. Okay, so we went to a hostel in Scotland. They took like 30 kids or 40 kids, okay? We went to Scotland, and they're teaching us English, and they're teaching us Hebrew, and we're having a good time, boys and girls. So we stayed 9 months in that hostel, and then after that, the hostel was emptying out because a lot of the kids found relatives in America, and they got papers to go to the United States, okay? So the hostel emptied out, so they said you could go to Bedford or you could go to London. So we decided to go several of us, maybe 10 kids from that group, went to Bedford. It's a hostel that's going to go to, the kids are going to go to Israel. That's where we want to go, okay? So the next morning, they introduced us to the few boys that were there, and there was a young man in there, and I said, that's the man I'm going to marry. Would you believe that? I did. He was a good-looking young man, and of course, you know, all the Jewish boys in the hostels, they had non-Jewish girls. The girls from town, they would come over, they were having a good time with the boys, okay? And my husband, his name was Max, he had a girlfriend for about a year from Bedford, from the town. And I said, it's okay, we are 15, 16-year-olds, you know, it's nothing is serious. Excuse me, I have to take a drink. Anyway, finally, the hostel is emptying out because kids are going to America, wherever, England, wherever they're going to stay. So we went to New York. We went to London from Bedford. The hostel was emptying out. We're going to Bedford, and Max, the young man that I had my eyes on, he came to London too, and we ended up living in some homes because they would pay our rent, and families would, private families would take care of the kids in London. So one time, maybe a few days after being in London, Max called me. He came over, and we never went with anybody else. We fell in love, and I knew this was going to happen. So if you ever have somebody that you like, don't ever give up hope. Okay. So we got married in there it is, Scotland. That's a picture of Scotland. Okay. So finally, we got married in London because Bedford, the hostel was closing down because a lot of kids are finding relatives all over the world. Okay. So got married, and then my husband was writing a letter to cousins in New York, and they said, do you want to come to America? I said, that's the best thing we want to do is go to America. So we came to America in 1951, Max and I. We lived in Brooklyn, Bensonhurst. I don't know if anybody knows where that is, but it was a nice area. It is a nice area. And we spoke perfect English, by the way. We learned English very fast in England, in Scotland, okay? So we had a great time in London, and then we came to the United States in 1951. Okay, so we lived in New York for 5 years, and then my husband came to San Diego because all the boys were taken to the military. Okay, so but my husband didn't because he had a lot of damage during the war, so he was not healthy enough. So he comes to San Diego to visit a friend who is in the military, and he calls me 2 days later, Rose, pack up the bags, we're moving to San Diego. We already had a daughter in New York, and we had a beautiful apartment because Max's uncle had a building, so we got an apartment. So we came to San Diego in 1956, okay? And so we rented a house for 6 months, and then we bought a house in Allied Gardens. I don't know if anybody knows where that is. They were building homes, and that was in 1956, okay? So after living 10 years in Allied Gardens, the family was growing. I had 4 kids, so we bought a house in Del Cerro. I don't know if you know where that is. So we live in Del Cerro close to 60 years now. So we are so thankful that we came to this country. This is the best country in the world, by the way. And you can become whatever you want. Just remember, never give up hope. Okay? So thank you very much for letting me talk. If you have any questions, I'll be very happy to answer it. Okay?
So what'll happen at 12:12, the bell will ring for lunch to start, and that's when you guys will get up and leave. I want to tell you, I appreciate you paying attention and listening to this story. When I first came into the room and I met Rose, she showed me a tattoo on her arm, and she did not explain the tattoo. So I would like her to share with you the significance of that.
Want to stand up, Mom?
Huh?
Want to stand up? Show them your tattoo.
I can't hear you.
Do you want to stand up and show me?
Yeah, sure.
Her left ear's almost gone, so it's a problem when I'm on the left side.
You see this? This is my number from Auschwitz.
Tell them what it is.
Huh?
A. Read it out.
A25893.
And what does that mean? How do they give you a number?
Well, when we came into the factory to work, they gave us the numbers.
Yeah.
They tattooed us. And when they tattooed us, we knew we were safe. Okay? Because so many people were killed and had no idea, no tattoos.
In the
Okay.
general population of Auschwitz, they did not tattoo you until you had a job. Otherwise, you're just waiting to die. So
It was
when she gets
terrible.
to Freudenthal, she gets the tattoo, and then that's her name for the duration of her time
Yeah.
in Freudenthal.
My book came out 3 years ago, the history. So actually, some of the history was so bad I couldn't even put it in because I first started speaking to middle school. Okay, I live in Del Cerro, and we used to go to Lewis Junior High. I don't know if anybody knows where that is. Okay, so that was the first speaking engagement at Lewis Junior High because my sons were in that school. Okay, so after that. We started speaking all the time, but that was the first time we spoke because I really didn't even want to speak about the past. But everybody said, you need to tell the world what's going on or what happened to you. So I did this, and I've been doing this over 50 years, speaking at schools. Okay, and I'm speaking at a school today.
And
So-
Mom, tell them that the book is also Dad's story.
Okay, in the book here, it's 2 stories, my husband and mine. Okay, and if you buy the book and if you don't like it, I'll give you your money back. This book, I tell you, some of it was so horrible in the camps I couldn't even put it in because I was doing this for 14-year-olds. Because I started at Lewis Junior High and they were all middle school, and I was afraid to tell them some of the horrible things. But this is a very good book, and whoever gets it, they're always calling me and telling me, how did I survive such a horrible place? But you see, the thing is, if you have problems, do not ever give up hope. That's what makes you go. You have a bad day? No, you know tomorrow is going to be better, okay?
Thank you, Rosa.
I really appreciate you coming out and talking.
Thank you.
I'm gonna take a picture of your book.
You wanna,
I'm gonna take a picture of it.
okay,
And
Take that home.
yeah, I'm gonna take a
Your
picture
books.
of it, and I'm gonna show my
Venmo,
teacher
cash.
from middle school over there
okay,
$20.
because she really
She can
enjoyed
personalize it.
talking about it. She wanted to get a speaker,
okay.
so I'm gonna.
Glad to do it.
Hi,
Hi,
I'm Anya.
hi.
I wanted to know how much the books are.
$20.
$20?
Uh-huh.
And
Okay.
they're signed, and she
Okay.
she'll
And I'll sign it for you.
In the classroom, but are you gonna be here for like the next 10 minutes?
Yes,
You are?
Okay.
Okay, because I just want to go grab my money and get a book.
okay, all right.
Is give you a,
The book is signed.
Is it?
Yes.
Mom, you want to personalize it for people?
Yeah, it's all signed.
Personalize it for people?
Yes.
Okay, so if you write your name down on the card and then give it to her, she can personalize it. You can sit down, Mom. Would that be okay? Yes, that is okay. Who's next? One?
3 hardcovers and 1 paperback.
You got it.
I'm from the office, so I'm the
From the library?
spokesperson. No, from the
You just
office.
read maybe two Scott.
Thank you.
Scott, my grandson is Scott.
Oh, really?
I have paperbacks. They're better for curling up in bed.
He's got a good name.
Those
you
are
go.
great, but they hurt you. Get yourself on
I
hardcover.
won't. So what do I owe you?
20, 40, 60, 75.
Here you go.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you so much for being here today.
You.
And grab a bookmark for each book.
I
put
got
it in
them.
there.
Thank you.
If you guys
I
can
just
do
wanted to
want
see
to
it.
bookmark, take it home and talk to their parents about it. It's got the website on it.
Yeah, thanks.
So well.
Okay.
Emily, Mom, which one do you want to have signed? And not the red pen. Get the black pen. That's an archival ink pen, so
There you go.
you want archival.
Thank you. You were thinking.
Hardcover?
Thank you, honey. I'm sorry.
Yes,
I've got
sweetheart.
4 of us from the office. I'm kind of.
And here's a bookmark. And if you wanted to
There you
personalize
go,
it for you, write your
Emily.
name on here, and
Thank
then
you,
she could
sweetheart.
do that.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
I'll be here.
How much is it?
It's $20 for a hardcover, 15 for soft.
And I can Venmo you.
You can Venmo me. It's right there's Venmo. Here's the Venmo. You should find me. It's Benjamin Schindler 3.
Oh, this is,
Elizabeth?
is it Emily?
Oh, it was Elizabeth, right?
Okay, I just need
Perfect. Grab a book. Come on over. There's a lot of trust, so if you guys say you do it, you did it. If you wanted to personalize it, like I said, write your name,
There.
Elizabeth. You got it.
There you go.
And then she can personalize it.
You're welcome. Give it to me. Yeah, okay.
So the only reason we could do this, guys, is because I'm a printer and I published the book. Otherwise, publisher doesn't let you do this if they're Simon and Schuster or one of the big guys.
One book?
Okay.
Do I write my name?
Write your name.